And the Boston Celtics advance to round 2. They beat the Heat in 5.
The Boston Celtics have punched their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's it, it's over. The Celtics are heading back to the NBA Finals. And another crushing finish for these Indiana Pacers.
The Boston Celtics this year cruised through the Eastern Conference Finals. They made the rest of the Eastern Conference look like G League teams. The Celtics, prior to the NBA Finals, had a postseason record of 12-2, a feat that's been done very few times in NBA history. But with a postseason record like this, it really brings up the question, are the Celtics really that good? Or was their path to a finals appearance very easy? And if so, exactly how historically easy compared to NBA final runs of the past? I think it's really no secret that the Boston Celtics this year kind of got off the hook in the Eastern Conference playoff rounds. They first played against the Miami Heat, who were without their star player Jimmy Butler and their new pickup Terry Rozier. In addition to them being the 8th seed, there was really no doubt who was going to win this series. But it didn't come without a Kristaps Porzingis injury in Game 4. But with the Celtics being by far the best team in basketball and having enough front court depth, they were going to be just fine. Then in the conference semifinals, they faced off against the 4-seed Cleveland Cavaliers, who were originally without their starting big man Jarrett Allen, and eventually lost Donovan Mitchell to injuries. So the Celtics once again caught a lucky break here. But finally the Celtics were going to go up against a non-injury riddled team. Oh wait. So the Celtics somehow found a way to avoid playing against the best player of each opponent. The East in 2024 was very obviously a cakewalk. Besides the direct teams the Celtics faced, the Bucks were dealing with injuries to Giannis and Dame. The Knicks had a grocery list of a family of 5 on their injury report. And Joel Embiid for the 76ers was playing on one leg. So of the 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, 5 of them dealt with injuries to their best player. And while Jalen Brunson was mostly healthy throughout the playoffs, in Game 7 he broke his hand. So the only number 1 options fully healthy in the 2024 playoffs were Paolo Banchero and Jason Tatum. The Celtics dodged a huge bullet, but have we ever seen a finals run this watered down before in NBA history? Well, lucky for you, I put my heart and soul into ranking every NBA finals appearance based purely off numbers, and you might just be surprised by what you see. From the current year of 2024 all the way back until the NBA and ABA merged in 1976, I found the degree of difficulty of every finals run. And over history, we've seen some very challenging, quite impossible runs, and we've also seen some cupcake runs. Of every NBA finals run from the last 47 years, by far the most challenging finals run was the 1994-95 Houston Rockets. They first played against the Stockton and Malone Utah Jazz in the heart of their prime, a 60-win team in the first round, and beat them. Then it didn't get much better, playing against the Kevin Johnson and Charles Barkley Suns, who had 59 wins. And in the Western Conference Finals, they faced off against the 62-win San Antonio Spurs, who had the league MVP David Robinson, and they won in 6. The Rockets in 1995 had to play against 3 teams with 59 wins or more. Do you know how many teams finish with that many wins now? 1 team, the Boston Celtics. The Rockets literally had to play against the 3 best teams in the league in 1995 to get to the finals. The next hardest finals run is going to come as a surprise to many of you. It's the 2020 bubble Miami Heat, and you might just be scratching your head a little to this one. The win counts shown here are adjusted for 82 games because the 2020 season was cut short due to a little something. But don't sleep on the Heat. First, they started off by dismantling the Indiana Pacers in 4 games. Bubble TJ Warren wasn't enough. Next off, they had to play against the Milwaukee Bucks, who, if they were to play 82 games, they would have finished with the same amount of wins the Celtics have now. The Bucks in 2020 were by far the best team in basketball, and the Heat made them look like a G League team. And then the Miami Heat beat the young duo of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in the Eastern Conference Finals to advance to the NBA Finals. The Heat finished with an average opponent win count of 56 wins. The third hardest final run ranked by opponent wins was the 2009 Orlando Magic. They started off by playing against the 76ers with Andre Iguodala, a pretty easy 41-41 team who they beat, but this was the only break they would catch in the playoffs because next they had to play against the former NBA champs in the Boston Celtics with a very impressive 62 wins, who they beat in 7. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, Dwight Howard officially became the NBA villain, robbing us all of a Kobe and LeBron Finals, beating the 66-win Cavs with a prime LeBron in 6 games. The fourth best run was the 2002 Lakers, the third year of the Kobe and Shaq three-peat. They first beat the Blazers with Pippen and Rasheed Wallace in a 3-game sweep. Then they beat the 58-win San Antonio Spurs with a 19-year-old Tony Parker. And finally, they made it to the finals, beating the loaded Sacramento Kings in 7 games, led by Mike Bibby and Chris Webber. And the final challenging postseason run of the top 5 we have here is the 2010 Boston Celtics. They started off by beating the D-Wade Miami Heat, by far not a bad team. Then the Celtics pretty much ended the first stint of LeBron and the Cavs, beating the 61-win team in the second round and sending LeBron to Miami with this loss. And finally, they got their revenge on the Dwight Howard Magic in the conference finals, beating them in 6 games. So this is what some of the most challenging finals runs of all time look like. What about the opposite though? What about some of the easiest final runs ever? Of the 96 possible finals runs from 1977 to 2024, these are the easiest ones. At our number 91 spot, we have the 1988 Lakers, the 5th and final ring of Showtime. They first started off the postseason by committing a war crime against the 31-win Spurs, who shouldn't even be near the playoffs. Now, actually going against some real competition, they beat the 47-win Utah Jazz, led by a young Karl Malone in 7. And finally, they beat the Mark Aguirre-led Dallas Mavericks in the conference finals, a 53-win team. The average win count for their opponents was 1 game over 500, just diabolic. And if you thought Magic Johnson couldn't top himself for the cakewalk competition, well, you'd be mistaken, because he had the same opponent win count of 43 in 1985. And once again, they beat a sub-40 win team in the first round of the playoffs. The Suns didn't even stand a chance. Then in the second round, they beat the Trailblazers, led by a young Clyde Drexler. And finally, in the Western Conference Finals, they finally played against a team with a winning record. They beat the Alex English Nuggets, who had 52 wins. Now, the next team you guys will be very familiar with, the most recent NBA champions, the 2023 Denver Nuggets, who looking back really had a cakewalk. They beat the underdeveloped Timberwolves in the first round, beat the D-Book and KD Suns next, and then beat the 7th seed LA Lakers with LeBron and AD in a 4-game sweep. They had the exact same opponent win average as the previous 2 teams. And if you thought you didn't see enough of Showtime, well, there's still more. The 1984 Lakers somehow outdid themselves, literally playing no one that had a winning record to make the finals. This is next level cakewalk, and the worst finals run of all time. No, not the 2024 Celtics, but another Showtime team. The 1987 Lakers, average competition in the West, was under 40 wins. That's just unreal. They somehow managed to play a team with 39 wins in the conference finals. This really puts some perspective on the Showtime Lakers' dominance in the 80s. So after looking at the highs and lows of NBA history, where does everyone else rank? Well, of the 96 possible finals runs, this is what they all look like. The Boston Celtics had the 74th best finals run of all time, relatively horse. The Heat had 46 wins, the Cavs had 48 wins, and the Pacers had 47 wins, giving them an average of 47 wins per opponent. The Dallas Mavericks, on the other hand, this year, had one of the best finals runs of all time, beating the Clippers with 51 wins, the Thunder with 57 wins, and the Timberwolves with 56 wins, giving them an average of 54.7 wins. Now, looking at the records of teams is nice, but it has one major flaw. It doesn't account for injuries during the playoffs. Obviously, the Heat are not a 46-win team without Butler and Rozier, the Cavs aren't a 48-win team without D. Mitch and Jared Allen, and the Pacers aren't a 47-win team without Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin. So how do we factor this into finding the value of a team? Well, Basketball Reference has a stat called win shares, which calculates the amount of wins a player is responsible for in a given season. For example, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has the highest record of all time in win shares at 25.37 in the 1972 season. This means he was responsible for over 25 wins for the Milwaukee Bucks that year. And just like every stat, win shares has its flaws, but it's really the only good reliable stat that goes all the way back till 1977, so we can use this stat to calculate how many wins a player takes away by sitting out with an injury. I think you can see where I'm going with this. For example, the 2015 Warriors got a huge break in the playoffs with injuries. It started when the Pelicans in 2015 didn't have Drew Holiday in their series, who was responsible for 3.4 wins. Then in the conference finals, the Rockets without Pat Bev, because of a facial injury, he was responsible for 3.5 wins. But this is pretty much nothing compared to the finals, which I'm guessing you guys are pretty aware of. The Cavs were without Kevin Love for all 6 games and Kyrie Irving for 5. Love was responsible for 8.7 wins, and Kyrie was responsible for about 10.4 wins, but because he played 1 game of those 6, this rounds out to about 8.7 wins as well. This means the Pelicans were really only a 42-win team, the Rockets were only a 52-win team, and the Cavs were only a whopping 36-win team without Kyrie and Kevin Love. And this isn't the only break the Warriors got. As much as everyone praises the 2022 Warriors playoff run for Steph proving he could win without a super team, this run was watered down from injuries. First off, MPJ and Jamal Murray weren't playing in the first round of the series, which drastically waters down the Nuggets record from 48-34 to 36-46. Next, Ja Morant missed 3 games of the 6-game series. He was worth 6.8 win shares, which translates to about 3.4, and a 53-win Grizzlies team. And finally, the Dallas Mavericks were without Tim Hardaway Jr., who added 2 wins. The Suns in 2021 also caught a break at the right time in the playoffs. It first started off with LeBron and Anthony Davis, who were both not 100% in the first round, but played through their injuries, so I can't really knock them on win shares. But in the second round, where they played against the Denver Nuggets, who didn't have Jamal Murray, which drops their win count from 47 to 42. And in the conference finals, Kawhi got hurt the round before, so the Suns were playing against a solo Paul George. This drops the Clippers' wins from 47 to a measly 38. And if you guys thought this was bad looking at these 3 finals runs, well, the Celtics' finals path this year might just blow your mind. The Celtics first played against the Heat, who were without Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier, which only loses them a casual 13 wins, dropping their record from 46-36 to an embarrassing 33-49. The fact that Miami even got 1 win in this series is insane. The Cavs' drop might be even worse than the Heat. Without Jared Allen for the whole series and D. Mitch missing 2 games, the Cavs dropped from a 48-win team to a 34-win team. And finally, the Indiana Pacers, who didn't have Halliburton for 2 games or Mathurin, pretty much playing a 500-level team. The Celtics, to make it to the finals in 2024, pretty much played against 2 sub-35-win teams and an even 41-41 team. This is the equivalent of the Celtics playing against the Brooklyn Nets, Chicago Bulls, and Houston Rockets to make the finals. Now just imagine the crap the Celtics would get for a finals path like this. They would get crucified in the Boston streets if they lost to the Mavericks in the finals. Right here, we have a chart that shows the average opponent win count for every finals run since 1977. The green dots represent teams that won, the red dots are teams that lost, and the gray dots are undecided at the current moment, so either the Mavs or Celtics now. Right here, above everyone else, is the 1995 Rockets. We have other impressive runs like the 2000s Lakers, the 2000 Spurs, the 2009 Magic, and 2006 Mavericks. Right here we have Michael Jordan's rings, which most of them are pretty good, except 1991. Kobe Bryant's finals runs might be the most challenging of any individual collection. LeBron's 10 final appearances are average to below average historically compared, but of course 10 finals appearances is an achievement on its own. Many of the finals runs in the 80s get exposed as significantly weaker due to the expansion of the NBA and more below average teams qualifying due to a lack of teams. Many of the Warriors finals runs are above average except for 2016. Luka Doncic and the Mavs place all the way up here. Looking more down in this chart, we see runs like the 2007 Cavs, 2008 Celtics, 2013 Heat, 2021 Bucks, and 2023 Denver Nuggets. But I'm sure you're wondering, where are the Celtics from this year at? Well, if we use the adjusted opponent win average count we just found recently for the Celtics, they would be all the way down here, in the basketball purgatory down below.